I'm Frank Gilkes, and I am Anudda Bajan. I grew up in an extended family setting. Our house was, I think we had about four bedrooms, right? So I grew up with my mom, my dad, my brother who was 18 months older than I am, and then my sister came along when I was 9 years old. But when I first, as a little boy, my grandfather used to live in the house as well, and so was one of my uncles. So we had a kind of extended family, and then we had cousins live over the other side of the road, where so there were two houses that was kind of open all the time for everyone. So we were back and forth between my great uncle house on the other side of the road and my great aunt and my parents, because I raised up with my great aunt, who was like a grandmother to me. People used to refer to her as my grandmother, and I never corrected them, because in a sense she was the grandmother, because I did not know my mother's mother. She died when my mother was very young, so I didn't know her. I only knew my father's mother. So I knew my grandmother from my father's side, but didn't know my grandfather from my father's side, because he had went off to Trinidad many years ago. So I have my grandmother from my father's side and my grandfather from my mother's side. So my great aunt was like my mother's mother. So she was like my grandmother. And she too was very strict, you know. She too was very strict, but she was very family oriented. And although I knew her as an elderly person, she would fight for any family members. Even as a little boy, and she saw anybody trying to unfair me, she would just get in and do something. I also remember her too because I would say she was a fighter, because she had a friend that used to come over to our house, and the friend was kind of was half deaf, if you could say that. And when she saw her talking, she couldn't read her lips because she was backing her, and she went and put her face around, you know, as if to say, don't back me when you're speaking, because she want to read her lips. And when she put around my great aunt tipped up her face and cuffed that woman and knocked her straight through the door. That was the first time I ever saw her do something like that. So it was a shock to me, you know. But she had that kind of fighter. She was also a member of the Pentecost church. And I don't know if you know, but in the Pentecost church, they used to, well, of course everybody knows the Pentecost church used to get any power. When they have this revival thing, they'll get any power. And I remember one night, she was at church, and this lady was in the power, and she was jumping out onto the church, and the lady hand hit her. And in the middle of the church, my great aunt went and cuffed the woman. She said, "Will you hit me for?" Because she was a member of the church, but she never got any power. So when this lady do that, she figured the lady hit her for purpose. I don't know if she really had some contention outside of that, but you know, sometimes these things happen in small districts. That was a normal thing where people have their little squabbles and things. So she just out and give the one cuff in the church, and the pastor of the church, Pastor Ford, had to step down off the platform and actually come and part them from fighting in the church. So yeah, but she wasn't easy. Yeah, my great aunt, she wasn't easy at all. Everybody in the district used to call her Dear. I guess later on I found out Dear was short for Dear Aunt, but we used to call her Dear. That was the name of everybody in the district used to call her Dear. Being born in the 1950s, at the end of the 1950s, and growing up in the 60s and 70s in Barbados was a whole different experience than it is now. And I was born on the coast, which is in Six Miles Bay, on the coast of Barbados, which is a coastal fishing village. 6 Miles, I believe, is still one of the, or probably the last remaining authentic fishing villages in Barbados. And I was born on the beach area, where the houses were on the beach. Persons passing 6 Miles now would notice that there's no houses on the beach side, because we have suffered immensely from beach erosion. and those houses were relocated some years ago by the government. So now it's just where used to be houses and our backyard is actually now sea. And so growing up on the coast, there was a different culture, so to speak. Summer vacations, for example, was roasting breadfruit on the beach, helping the fishermen offload the flying fish, roasting fish on the beach. You know, we used to build huts along the beach. We used to build these huts from coconut limbs, and then of course there was the games that we play along the beach. Cricket, beach cricket was the thing. We didn't have pasture, so to speak, like where the other people in the city or so on would have had to play cricket. So we used to play a lot of beach cricket. We played beach cricket, we played volleyball on the beach, and then we also, as children, we used to play something called sandball war. That's where you make sandballs. I'm sure that most people will be familiar with the stories of making snowballs in North America during the winter and just tossing them on one another. Well, we used to do it with sand. We would make these sandballs and we would just play a kind of war game and just pelt sandballs at each other. So that, you know, those sort of things. Of course, it was the usual going and picking mangoes and you know, and then there was the cane crop time. You know, crop time. During those days, crop time, you see a lot of cane trucks passing through the area. Well, I was never one of the persons who would run behind the truck and pull the cane out, because I definitely would have got a really good flogging from my father if I did that. But I grew up with the guys doing that, and the guy put out 3 or 4 canes to come back on the step and sit down, and we would have canes to suck. So, you know, it was an exciting time during the 60s and 70s. I am not one that would tell you that I would like to go back to those days. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't think of it that way. I think I look at it with some nostalgia, but in a way that it is good to remember and good to be able to relate to the memories of those days. But I don't think I want to go back to those days, because there were also some very harsh things about those days as well. Of course, you would know there was not much. You know, everybody in that day was what we consider poor. You know, we were not rich people, so everybody was poor, but there was a lot of sharing as well. So you didn't go hungry because there was sharing. Because if somebody have a breadfruit tree, you get a breadfruit. If somebody have a mango tree, you get mangoes. Fishermen, a lot of the people in the area they had brothers, sisters, uncles, whatever, involved in fishing. And the fish would be a staple. As a matter of fact, in those days growing up, we ate fish 7 days a week. We never used to eat chicken and turkey and these things until probably around Christmas and Easter, and you know, sometimes when they have the church excursion, because there was the Pentecostal church in 6 Mains where all the youngsters used to go to church. We used to go to Sunday school, and every August, I think it used to be the first Thursday in August, they would have this excursion, what we call the picnic excursion, you know, and they had 2 buses, and they would carry us to the park in St. Philip, King George V Memorial Park. That was the preferred place, and whenever they tried to change it, everybody just said, no, we want to go to the park. So we end up going to the park every year, and that was something to look forward to growing up as well, because it was when we got together as a community, and we went to this picnic, and we spent this time together as a community, and that's when we will get other types of meat to eat, chicken and turkey and whatever. But otherwise, during the normal time during the week, Sunday to Sunday, it was fish. It was some sort of fish. So I would say fish was the main staple on our diet growing up, which is quite different to today now. Today now, you get chicken all through the week, you know, because of how the chicken is being done now. In those days, you had what we call the yard fowls, where you raise them in your own yard at home, and they would you know, they would just stay a couple of months before they get big, and then you kill them, and around Christmas time you have chicken. Yeah. So it was okay, you know, and as I say, for the time, and I enjoy looking back and sharing those memories. I've tried in a lot of ways to put some of those memories into my poetry over the years as a poet, to keep those memories alive. Back in the early 80s, my brother and I would have collaborated with another Barbadian poet who is now, I know he's a professor at, he was at the Jamaican Water Campus. I'm not sure exactly where he is now. This is Dr. Ian Boxell. We used to write together. So we did a publication years ago with him, a small, slim publication called Winds of Change, and that was done by art. We did it at home, a home thing project, so it was not a big thing. Then after that, I met a Trinidadian poet by the name of Corey Joseph some years ago, and Corey and I collaborated and did a book together as well called Images of a Caribbean Dream. I think it was the first book, the first collaboration of a collection of poems by a Barbadian and a Trinidadian poet. This book, Sea, Water and Sand, again, this is the first major publication. Just before this, I also did one in St. Peter with, from Rampas to Tenerife, which was done as a project of the Parish Independence Committee back in 2001. But this one is special because it's a publication of work by myself and my brother. As I said, we did a lot of writing together. And the idea came to me one morning while walking. I said, you know something, and this was in 2020 during the height of the COVID pandemic. I said, you know something, now we have all this time on my hand, and I'm retired now, not working. Let me work on this book. I said, we have enough material that we can do it. So I started to put together some material. I called my brother and get him put together some material, and I sent off the proposal to the NCF, and they accepted the proposal, and I got the grant from them to publish this book, Sea, Water and Sand. So I am glad to see it, came to fruition, and it's doing pretty well so far.
I grew up watching the fishermen go off to sea in the wee hours of the morning, rowing those Moses out into the deep blue to launch, pedal and lister, crank those engines and set course for flying fish ground or hunting dolphin to sell by the pound. I would run all the way from school to raw fishy crates of daily flying fish, to sunburnt, crusty hand fishermen offering their daily catch for sale, to the flicker of scale and offal, the stringent fumes of diesel and salt water burning the memory up my nostrils. I grew up with fishermen, seeing them relax after a hard day, listening to their rhythmic cursing voices, telling tales of adventures at sea and the vast ocean that even now seems to beckon me. I grew up with sea spray in my eyes and the cries of hawkers bellowing against the backdrop of fish cloud draped skies. The evening's setting sun was the fisherman's friend. An arduous day of salt splash fag now brought to the end. The cycle will continue between fish and men. Now, when I watch crimson sunsets off 6 Miles coastline at the end of day, I can't help remembering fishermen lost at sea like Sylvan and Bigay. I can't help remembering the flying fish gone from our bay, elusive as a nocturnal thief, doing their silvery dance now at Boko Reef. I still watch the fishermen each chance I get, going down to the sea and listen to the sound of the conch shell. Fish, fish, catch of the day. I still watch those fishermen at 6 Mains Bay.
Because I did not pass the 11 plus, well, in those days you used to got 2 parts, and I did not pass to go to one of the government secondary schools. And in those days we had a lot of private secondary schools, and most of the students at these schools were poor people's children. They were not rich people's children. I think the fees were like $30 or so a term. And my father, who was working at the gas station that time for like $52 a week, he actually sent me and my brother to community high school, which was located on Barbados Hill. This is a school owned and run by a lady called Edna Scott. She was married to Darcy Scott, and they had the community high school on Barbados Hill. I went to school there for like 2 terms, and then I decided, but I told my father I don't want to go back to school anymore. And they had just opened the St. Lucie Secondary, which was opened in, I think it was October 1971, right? And I would have entered that school then in January 1972. So I finished my secondary education then at St. Lucie Secondary. And that was a whole different experience. I will forever sing the praises of the St. Lucie Secondary School, which is now known as the Daryll Jordan, appropriately named the Daryll Jordan Secondary. It was the best years of my school life, and I think one of the best headmasters ever in this country, the late Daryll Jordan. So I've had very pleasant years at that school. And that school was the basis for me developing my talents that I didn't even realize I had. Because it was at St. Lucie Secondary, I got involved in drama, I got involved in writing poetry and short stories at school. And as a matter of fact, my English teacher, I used to do essays. He used to give us an essay. My English teacher was a guy, a man by the name of Victor Griffith. And he used to give us 5 topics to write an essay on every weekend. So this was our weekend homework. And I probably was one of the only students that used to bring this essay on the Wednesday. Because when I came in, if I came in and I didn't finish it on the Monday, he would say, okay, Frank, you don't gotta worry. I know yours gonna be good, so you got an extra day to bring in. And whenever I bring my essay, he always read it to the class. So then I developed my love for writing through that. And then I started doing poetry at school. And you know, it started out like, I remember, for example, around things like Christmas and Valentine's, I would write little rhymes. And the guys, my other schoolmates would come to me and tell me they want me to write a little rhyme for them to get this girl. And they would write these little rhymes, you know, these little love rhymes and things for Valentine's Day. And I started like that. And then poetry developed in a sense like that. But then also I started reading a lot of North American, a lot of African American poets, or poets coming out of North America. People like Langston Hughes and Maya Angelou. I started reading a lot of these poems, and they were like something connecting me to these things. And I wanted to express myself in this way as well, about my environment in Barbados, and about growing up in Barbados, and about what is happening on not only on the political scene but on the social scene, you know, how life is in Barbados. So I had that urge to write because of that. And of course, somehow the talent was there, I didn't know, but it came out. And St. Lucie Secondary encouraged me. They encouraged me to do that. One of my teachers, who I'd always sing her praise, Pat Harvey, I remember she took one of my poems, and that was in 1975. That was a year before I left school. She took one of my poems and she entered it in NIFCA. And it won an award. And it was the first NIFCA award that I've ever won. And I went on to win several NIFCA awards after that for my poetry. But that was the first one in 1975. And that was because the teacher saw something in me, saw the talent, and she took it and entered in NIFCA. And that was an encouraging point for me, you know, because having won a award at NIFCA, it was like, okay, well, that means that somebody out there think that I can write. So let me go with this. And I went ahead with it. And, you know, subsequent years to that, we got involved, myself and my brother, we got involved. And it was good having a brother, growing up with a brother who actually has similar interests, because we write together and so on. And we went and became associated then with the Yoruba Foundation in Fontebelle, which was the under Alombe Motley, and that also had influence. We met people like Timothy Callender, late Timothy Callender, the late Bruce St. John. We had this meetings with Camus Braffet. So we actually were exposed to these guys then on a personal level, who also encourage and show us certain guidelines that we were able to follow to develop our work. I would got married to my first wife. That was in 1990. And we were married for 12 years. I have two children from her. We were married for 12 years, and then unfortunately we got divorced after 12 years. And 7 years after that, I met the love of my life, a young lady from St. Lucia. And we were married 5 months after I met her, right? And I often said to people, I said to her, I was gonna propose the first day I met you, but I thought you would think I'm mad. So I held off for a couple of months, but I knew that I would have married her when I met her. So that was, you know, and we were married for 6 days short of 9 years before she died. So I would have retired from the government service in July 2018, and my wife, whose birthday was the 8th of August, she would have just turned 46 years old on the 8th of August, and she passed away on the 23rd of August. So that was a hard blow for me. Took me quite a few years. This is 5 years now, so it took me at least three to 4 years before I fully got over it, you know. But I think I'm over that now, and I know she's resting peacefully, and you know, we still have a lot of memories. I still sometimes look at pictures, because we used to take a lot of pictures. We travel every year. We used to take vacation and go to St. Lucia, where I would take her to see her family, you know, and we would take plenty of pictures. She always tells me she enjoys seeing St. Lucia through my eyes as a tourist now, because I'm visiting with her, and she would carry me to these different places of interest. She knew my interest in history and culture and in heritage, so she would make sure to carry me these places in St. Lucia to reflect that sort of thing. I don't believe that there's one soulmate for anybody. I think we probably have more than one soulmate, but I often say that she was my soulmate. At least she was one of my soulmates. I don't know if I have other soulmates, but she was definitely one. Sometimes I would call her from work and said to her, I said, honey, you wanted me for something? And she said, how you know I wanted you? I said, I just knew, you know. And she would say, okay, I wanted so-and-so. I want you to bring so-and-so from the supermarket for me. And, you know, we had that sort of connection. And I said to her one time, if you call me in the middle of the day and tell me to go into town, just get up from your desk at work and walk up Broad Street, I would do it for even asking you why. Because I have that kind of trust. And she said the same thing with me. She said, if you tell me do what, I would do it, because I know I have that kind of trust. So I think we have reached that level. And what was amazing to some of my friends is that, as I said, that I met this young lady. I actually met her online. We met online, and we were communicating for about a year online. And then she came to Barbados. And when she came to Barbados and we met, we just hit it off. So 5 months after that, actually for my birthday in June, I decided that we can get engaged. And I went and I bought an engagement ring. And she was in Barbados. And she came to surprise me to do a birthday party for me in Barbados. And she met with some of my friends and organized this surprise party while I was planning to surprise her with an engagement ring. So at the party now, when everything was saying, and I got the surprise birthday party, there I was with this engagement ring in my pocket that I was looking to give her in a private setting. But all these friends around there now, I said, well, look, I think it's okay, we can share this with friends. So I took the ring out then, and right there in front of all my friends, I did the proposal. And of course, she accepted. And I said to her then the night, I said, well, you know, it is traditional that the woman set the date. So I want you to set the date. But at the same time, I want you to be cognizant of the fact that I have already applied for my vacation. And my vacation is encompassing August, the end of August into September. So I want you to set the date at that time. But we will get married in St. Lucia. I want to be married in St. Lucia. So we set up everything, and she decided, okay, she can do it on the 29th of August. So on the 29th of August, 2009, we were married at the Benjamin Hotel in St. Lucia. We had a lovely beach wedding. The place was like, the sky was like if Michelangelo, one of these great artists, had painted it. It was so nice and blue and white clouds. And a beautiful day. We had some good years. The last couple of years with her was rough because, as I said, she was sick. She had serious kidney failure, and she had to be on dialysis twice a week. So she had this, and it took a kind of toll on me in a sense, but I did it out of love. And I said to her, she would often say to me, you know, but I don't think you'll marry me for this. You know, I have no help to you. Because I had to do the cooking, the washing, cleaning, the house and everything. So even now when people ask me if I miss my wife, I said I miss her company, I miss her presence. But in terms of how a man traditionally had a wife, who you come home and find his meal prepared and his clothes washed and pressed, I said no, I can't miss her in that sense because I've been doing that for the last 2 years of her life, where she wasn't able to do it. I was doing it for her and myself. So it's not like I miss those things for the wife. I am capable of doing those things for myself. But I miss her presence, her company. And I just recently, I was commented to somebody that because she was a very intelligent person, and someone who I could, when I write a poem, I could say to her, well, honey, what do you think about this line? And she would always give me a good analysis of what she thought about the particular line in the poem, and how she think I should put it over instead or whatever. And we used to work in that kind of way. So, you know, that was one of the things about her that I mostly miss. But as I said, you know, she's resting peacefully. I'm Frank Gilkes. I'm a Pan-Africanist, I'm a poet, and I'm a film actor, and I'm just another Bajan.